We do remember about this, you're talking about the matching up of the money, because Judith Collins, a couple of weeks ago, when they announced they were going to spend $9 billion on defence, we were like, oh, well, we're not necessarily against the idea. I mean, certainly it seems if we're flying helicopters from close to 50 years ago, probably a good idea to upgrade them. I'm not against it. But in this age of cutting here, cutting there, can't afford, Dunedin Hospital, Nelson Hospital, where is the money going to come from? Can we have like some kind of spreadsheet explaining it all? And the response from Ms. Collins was,
look, the money will be found because it has to be found.
Okay. Hand wave away. Hand wave away. So, which does raise the question, of course, about health. Money will be found because the money has to be found? It has to be found. No, not obviously. So in all those other areas where we're being told by the government we can't afford it, why can't we have this answer?
Look, the money will be found because it has to be found.
I mean, like, why can't we have that answer for everything else? Why? And look, and I want to be really clear. I'm not like a military historian like Chewie in love with that area of life, but I'm not against spending more on military. But I am against being told,
look, the money will be found because it has to be found
in one area, and then fuck all, you can go right off with yourself. There's no money for that. That's the conversation I want to have. So when we hear yesterday, I think it was yesterday, that, it was so funny. I had lunch the other day, says Judith Collins, and I was sitting on the couch. And you know how sometimes you drop the remote and it goes down between the cushions, and you reach down between the cushions and, Chewie, there's another $1 billion down there. Just like that. That was found.
Crazy.
I know.
It's just in an envelope with sea helicopters written on it.
Yeah, and hang on, and the about to play through. But first thing is, of course, the first thing they tried to do was do that and say, oh no, that was part of the last budget, until some cheeky little journalist went, excuse me, can you clarify? And then they had to say, oh no, actually it's new money, so it is an additional $1 billion. Yes, true. Before we play the story.
Yeah. Look, procurement in this area has another minefield that they're probably not aware of. Like, the defense procurement business is full of corruption, bribes, whining and dining, people wanting to secure contracts and that sort of thing. There are so many things to consider here. Who do we buy for? Is America a reliable ally to buy equipment from? If we sign on the dotted line and say that we're going to buy these things, and then further down the track have some criticism of America, a la nuclear ships back in the day, or maybe we don't want to be part of AUKUS anymore, does that mean that they're going to cut us off at the knees? Or are we going to buy from, say, a European country, and that's going to piss off America, and they're going to take it out on us in some other way? Like, there's all of these things. And this is what I come back to. Do I trust a minister who can't tell the difference between a sub-hunting plane and a sub-hunting ship to be able to consider these and make the right decisions? Does she have the right advisors from the NZDF to actually make the right recommendations and get her to listen and understand? Or are we going to have some woo-woo, I want to spend some money on some Tom Clancy shit today, we don't even need helicopters? You know, we've got ships that we can't staff. We have holes in the NZDF that they can't staff because we're not retaining the people that we're training. Stop me if that sounds familiar, if you've heard that in any other thing that we've spoken about here. Like, get the fundamentals, then do the other stuff. I would love the government, whatever colour, to look at things like defence and infrastructure as this needs minimal levels of political fuckery. Let's make good decisions, because this is a 30, 40, 50-year decision that we're making.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get to the story from last night.
The government spending even more on defence on top of the $9 billion in new funding unveiled last month. Today it added close to $1 billion more. But the announcement, which also confirmed new helicopters are on the way, didn't quite go as planned. Simon Mersep has more.
The government had more defence spending on its flight path today. First, it confirmed it's put aside $2 billion.
Is this the New Zealand equivalent of Donald Trump in the front of the truck going, this is the New Zealand version of it, perhaps? Just thinking.
Confirmed it's put aside $2 billion to replace its Sea Sprite helicopters. It'll get 5 new ones.
This will increase the defensive and offensive capability and surveillance range for New Zealand's frigates, as well as supporting non-combat tasks like humanitarian assistance and disaster relief.
And second, it announced close to $1 billion on a broad program, including more deployments, training and allowances. This would be part of a plan it announced last month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's yes, it is. It's part of the cost that we've said we need to.
Oh, so it's just checking with Judith. It's part of the $9 billion. Well, yeah, man, there's not really an announcement there, but it's good to know where the money that's already been talked about is actually going. So it's part of the $9 billion.
To spend.
Soon after, the minister had to correct that
to
say this money was on top of what was previously announced.
So it's it's a lot of money, but it's needed.
Okay, interesting. All right, so hang on. So let's just get this right.
Jesus.
So a month ago it was.
Look, the money will be found because it has to be found.
And now it's.
So it's it's a lot of money, but it's needed.
Okay, so it's needed, and that's enough to get it passed. Because
so it's it's a lot of money, but it's needed.
Okay, Chewie. So obviously all that other stuff, Dunedin Hospital, Nelson Hospital, all that kind of stuff, is not needed because.
So it's it's a lot of money, but it's needed.
Because if it was needed, it wouldn't matter. And
look, the money will be found because it has to be found.
So that means none of that other stuff is needed. None of it is needed.
This is so fucking galling to sit here at the bottom of the South Island where these guys have wrung their hands, and bitched and moaned and sniped at the previous government that, we just don't have enough money for a hospital, or we're going to play you off against Nelson on who gets a hospital upgrade. All of this sort of stuff. We're going to tell the doctors that they're getting 77% pay rise or something grossly offensive like that. Like everything's tough. Everything's tough because Labor did this. Ignore what we did for landlords. Ignore the billions and billions of dollars that we threw away at that point of tax income. Don't fucking worry about it. Like, times are tough. We've got to budget and do the big budget decisions, and nobody's going to like us because we have to make tough decisions. And then you turn around and go, we'll find it because we have to. We couldn't find it for your hospital. Get fucked.
I do
but
wonder.
We can find it at the drop of a hat for this.
I do wonder. Look at the face. I mean, does that not look like someone going, yeah, I know how this is going to be reported? Does that not look like, I'll say this, I know this is going to come back to bite me? It reeks of that to me.
Previously announced.
So it's it's a lot of money, but it's needed. Thank you.
That means over the next 4 years, the government's committing $10 billion of new spending on defence.
Look, we cannot have economic prosperity without defence and security. We're living in an Indo-Pacific region that is more geostrategically contested and competitive.
Increasing defence spending is justified, and it is a good investment in our future, but so is an investment in health, so is an investment in education, so is investment in housing. And I think we need to see similar levels of commitment in those areas in this year's budget.
We don't yet know what the new helicopters will be.
This is the other thing. They're committing $1 billion, but they have, much like the ferries, nowhere to buy them from, no finalised account, no costings, but it's going to be $1 billion. So much like this government's done with other infrastructure issues, ferries, they've put out, this is how much it's going to be. with no knowledge of that being the final invoice. It's like me saying I'm going to buy a car, and I'm going to buy a car. It's going to be a brand new car. It's going to cost me $28,000, and then finding out that the cheapest brand new car that I want to buy is $35,000. They can't actually give us these numbers without anything else, and they have nothing else yet to base their numbers on. Again,
we don't yet know what the new helicopters will be. That has to go out to tender. And the Sea Sprite helicopters that are going to be replaced have certainly got some years on them. They were built by the Americans back in the 1960s, then went to the Aussies before coming to the New Zealand Defence Force. And they're due to reach the end of their service life by the late 2020s. This is all part of a plan to double defence spending to 2% of GDP within 8 years. But that's too slow for one coalition partner.
And New Zealand First will be pushing hard to get defence spending up to 2% much sooner.
It'll be another topic for debate around the coalition table.
There you go, Chewie. So again, I mean, like if those actual helicopters, the ones that they were standing beside, the ones that the ministry uses, were built in the 60s, unless what they're saying is Sea Sprite started to get built in the 60s. But the way that Simon Mersip said it was these ones right here were built in the 60s. That means they're going on 60 years old. No problem with the concept of replacing them. Have a massive problem with the government telling us that we've got no money for anything until they get their pet project, and then literally $10 billion just appears because it has to.
He's wrong about those helicopters being like literally from the 1960s. Like, yes, we've picked up some secondhand from the Australian Navy when they got rid of theirs in the mid-90s, but they're much, much newer models. Okay. Look, one of the things that I'd say about New Zealand Defence Forces and the equipment that they get, most of the time they are getting quite frugal equipment. They're getting things like the transport aircraft that we just replaced. We've been flying those literally since the 60s. Yeah. The same ones. We make shit work because we have to, because we don't have a lot of money. Say the aircraft that the P8 Poseidons replaced, the Orions. There was a study done in the 1980s. So the government came in and they wanted to review defence spending. This is how it's turned around. They wanted to review defence spending. We were spending too much. So they asked the Americans to come in and look at our exclusive economic zone and how we patrol it, and the aircraft that we use to patrol it. And basically the government was thinking the Americans will come in here and they'll tell us that we're doing too much. And the end result of the Americans coming in and looking at the enormous amount of area that we have to patrol and the planes that we have, they said, you actually need 2 to 3 times more aircraft than you have now to do the job that you're doing.
And that's when we had
the government went, thank you very much. You can go now. So this is the thing. We make do with what we get. If the decision's made correctly. More recently, governments have not made good procurement decisions. The Charles Upham, the NZLAVs that we bought too many of, all of those sort of things. So when they're talking about naval helicopters, Chewie puts on his battle hat and goes looking for examples. Now they're talking about $2 billion. They're talking about a naval helicopter. It needs to fit on our naval frigates.
Sorry, you said 2 billion? A billion? What, singular?
No, I said 2 billion.
But it's $1 billion that they're putting aside for this.
Oh, okay. Wow, they might have a little bit of a problem then. So the Australians use the same frigates as we do.
Yeah.
The Australians use the Sikorsky Seahawk helicopter. It fits in the hangars that's on the frigates. And it's good if we're using the same aircraft that our allies are using, right?
Sorry, I don't mean to derail you. I'm sorry. It does say on my thing, 2 billion for naval helicopters, but they're adding $1 billion more. So
right.
I apologize.
Gotcha.
So that's okay. The disconnect. So they were getting helicopters, but they've anyway. So you're right. 2 billion. Make sure that's clear. Adding $1 billion more. Adding $1 billion more.
So if we were to get the same helicopters that the Australian Navy use, this story popped up.
Yeah.
Norway approves 1.1 billion, that's US, for Seahawk deals, partial replacement of their naval helicopters. They're acquiring 6.
Okay. So 200 million each.
So that's pretty close to the $2 billion that they're talking about there, roughly.
Because that's 1.1 billion US.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I've seen a lot of people sort of comment on this going, wow, fuck, that's a lot per helicopter. It's also for training and spares and all of this other stuff. It's not a per helicopter cost, that sort of thing. So we may be going that way. There is another option. There's a European helicopter, and the German Navy seems to be able to buy a hell of a lot of them for a lot less. They're buying 31.
That's 5 billion New Zealand.
Yeah. 31 for that many. Problem with these are they don't fit in the hangars.
Yeah.
But the good thing is this is the same type that the Air Force already fly, just not the navalized version. So would Judith Collins know the difference? Would she have a person there to say that, hey, this is a good deal, but they're not going to fit on the ships that you want them to?